Hey guys, I'm back. It's been a month and that wasn't my plan, but summer's been so crazy. Thankfully school's starting, so I will have a lot more free time. Anyway, I got great responses to my question, what are you afraid of? What scares you? And I planned on being all over it, and I ran into technical difficulties and time issues, and anyway, life should be slowing down a little bit. So hopefully weekly I can be all over this. One of the questions that I was asked was, why do people avoid going to the doctor when they think something is really wrong, or when they have a family history of something that they should really be getting checked out? So that's a pretty narrow question, but I think we can take it and make it pretty broad, right? We avoid stuff when we're afraid, right? If you've ever thought, oh, God, I don't even want to check my bank account because payday's not for 5 more days and I know it's going to be bad. I just won't look. That helps, right? The problem with not finding out if something is going on, there's a fear of, I don't want to ask someone if they're mad at me. I'll just avoid it and hope it goes away. I'm afraid if I ask for a raise, my boss might respond weird, so I guess I'll just avoid the whole conversation altogether, and maybe someday I'll get it, maybe I won't. The problem with that is it's there under the surface. So bringing it back to the person who asked specifically about the medical piece, when we're afraid of something, when we don't want to know the answer because we're afraid that the answer is going to be scary, we go with the idea ignorance is bliss. If I don't know, but it doesn't really work, right? Those fears are there, they're under the surface. We are worried. That's that constant just in your stomach that you feel, and it's not as if just ignoring it makes it go away, right? So I think the first thing to understand is people avoid things like going to the doctor when they think something's terribly wrong, avoid checking in on maybe what their kids are doing if they think their kids might be up to something sketchy. If we just look the other way, it won't be real. It's really just a fear of facing something terrible. Okay, that's the logic behind it. Again, what does that lead to? It leads to feeling, it's that low-lying, just scummy fear that's under the surface that you can feel it. It's not like you avoid it and don't think about it, right? So what do you do with that? You don't have to love the idea, but you have two choices. You can live with this worry in the back of your mind that something might be wrong, or you can face it head on and just find out. It's probably pretty obvious that just ignoring it's not going to resolve it, and really, as scary as it can be to find out something's wrong, you have a chance to fix it. Sometimes, usually, a lot of the time. Okay, it depends on what we're talking about here. If I go into the doctor because I've got this weird thing going on and it's terminal cancer, okay, I can't necessarily fix it, but I can make plans. I can get things in order. Flip side, if I go into the doctor because I have this weird thing that I'm worried about and they say, oh, you know what, we need to, let's say this is a skin thing, we need to remove that looks like it's sketchy, and then they call and they say, hey, we biopsied that and it was cancerous, but the good news is we got it all, right? If I had avoided this is not really me, by the way, but if I had avoided it, the outcome would have been very different. So yes, it's terrifying sometimes to ask a question, to put ourselves out there and face something terrifying, but the cost of not doing it depending on what the issue is, can be anything from just a constant irritating, I wish I knew what was wrong, but I don't want to know what's wrong, all the way up to can be fatal, right? So there are things you can do to work through this fear. Ask yourself, why am I afraid to go? Why am I avoiding it? You may not even think you're afraid. You may just say, it's just better to not know. Okay. Why is it better? Sit with it. Make a list of reasons. Why is it better to not know? And then when you're done, ask yourself, is there any reason? Can I think of anything, maybe lots of things, when you start thinking on it, that might be positive about going in to a doctor, talking to that person, looking into something that you're afraid to see, because not knowing won't change what's actually going on, right? So just weighing it out. What is keeping me from doing this? What is the cost? And if I do it, do I gain something potentially? Okay. The second thing is you really have to kind of tell your brain, it's okay. Deep breathing here. I can sit with this. What if I do this thing and it is as bad as I expect? What then? What will be different? Knowing this in advance, kind of preparing for it, talking to people close to you and saying, hey, I'm really freaked out. I'm going to do this and I'm going to need some extra support. Ultimately, what it comes down to is looking at it and asking yourself, is it worth not knowing? Maybe it is, right? Depending on who you are, it may be worth it to you to not know what's going on. But for the most part, most of the time, there's some peace of mind. I've worked with people who found out they had cancer. I've worked with people who found out, that their kiddos were doing things that were illegal or their spouse was having an affair. And even though finding out was just devastating, they were able to do things about it rather than living with that fear in the back of their mind and really kind of knowing something wasn't right all along. They were able to look at the evidence and go, okay, how do I move forward? So it's scary. It's scary to look at the unknown, to risk finding out something we don't want to know. But here's the thing. Takeaway points here. You can sit with that nagging feeling there and try to dismiss it and pretend it doesn't exist and do absolutely nothing to change the situation. Or you can look at it, find out what's going on, and then use that information to move forward. And again, just recapping, get support. If you're nervous about finding out about something, talk to somebody, do some self-calming. Okay, I'm going to deep breathe. I'm going to do something nice for myself before and after I do this, support. Be kind to yourself and challenge that belief that knowing is worse than not knowing, because again, it could be, but usually no. We can't make changes. We can't fix anything if we don't know that something's wrong. So weigh it out. Look at the benefits to not knowing versus knowing. And our decisions are our own, and our family telling us what to do, our friends, our doctor, our next door neighbor who's nosy and thinks, they need to put their 2 cents in, they can't make the choice, assuming that we're over 18. And so it is a personal decision, but I encourage anyone who is not taking care of themselves or resolving a situation out of fear to just step back and ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do find out what's going on, if I do ask questions, if I gain clarity? What's the worst thing that can happen if I don't? Okay. If you have further questions, feel free to comment below and I'm happy to respond. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share this if you know anyone that it would benefit. And I will be back next time with a little piece on fear of making changes in our lives. So for today, that's all. Go out there, find out what's going on in your world. What burning question in your mind are you avoiding finding the answer to because you're afraid of what you might find out? Okay, until next time.